our panel today is called The State of the Industry, Where Are We and Where Do We Go From Here? I'm so thrilled to have on our panel some people I tremendously respect. Nora and I actually hand-selected them each for their expertise in their different arenas. First we have Mr. Bon Guerrero, who's the reason we're all sitting here right now. He's the founder and CEO of Fashion Forward. Obviously no one needs an introduction, but out of respect for formality, I'm doing this. Nadine Kanzo is a brilliant designer and creative director behind Bill Arabi. Razan Alazouni, the creative director behind the beautiful ready-to-wear line, Razan Alazouni. We have Natalie Trad, the awesome designer behind those cool clutches you're seeing everywhere right now, Natalie Trad, and of course, Sapphire Claire's managing editor, Nortini. Our panel will take about 40 to 45 minutes today. We're going to leave about 5 minutes towards the end for questions from the audience, so please feel free to ask us anything you want after that note. Well, I'm going to start with you. You're the visionary behind this entire thing. You're the reason really we're all sitting here. Tell me, what was the idea behind Fashion Forward? What did you feel was lacking in our market that you decided to come up with this initiative?
What was lacking? I think we had everything, really, but they were quite randomly placed. And then I think what was not there was the fact that there was no fashion assembly. And it's really just gathering all the different components and elements and members of the fashion landscape that was obviously growing and brewing over the last decade and a half, if I must say. I mean, having lived here for the last 25 years, we've really come a long way in terms of the fashion stratosphere, if you must say. From when 20 years ago we only had glamorized dress shops making clothes for the ladies of the region, to having the largest stores of the power brands here. What Fashion Forward has hopefully achieved to do is create that assembly where all of us gather and have a dialogue and discuss really how we can put it forward. And with just the recent announcement of the Dubai Design and Fashion Council, with initiatives like Dubai Design District, who have to generously support this initiative of the Fashion Talks, and obviously with the members of the media and the rising of such designers and all of this, I think we're just going forward with the industry.
I feel like you and I are very rare in that we've both been here for several decades. In my case, 30 years, in your case, about 25.
2 years, really.
How do you feel it's really changed? Because I remember Dubai back then being just this little tiny city. Fashion was really not on anyone's mind. It was not really commodified. It was not an industry of its own. And now it's this global, power player. What do you allude to the success of all of this happening?
Well, a bit of nostalgia. I mean, 25 years ago, there were probably 3 top glamorized fashion houses. But I don't know if you remember the names like Arushi, Ganati, which I co-owned and managed, and Balkis. Those were the top fashion houses, and I mean, they were doing proper couture in those days. It's like our designers would fly to Paris to buy 6 yards of fabric and fly to Saudi and really, cater to the whims of the well-heeled ladies of the region. And couture existed then, and I was really a part of that in those pioneering years. But a lot has happened in the last 2 decades. And those days there was only one shopping mall. Samba High Street was like Champs-Élysées, and it was just a different world. But consumerism was already very high in those days. It just got spread a bit, I think, with the influx of all the Gucci's and the Pradas. I mean, I remember when the first Versace store opened in Maktoum Road, it was a big deal.
And like, Gucci.
Yeah, and Gucci. So obviously a lot has changed. All these big brands have taken a large, if not, the entire share of the pie. But as that was happening, obviously you had all this really creative talent that was percolating, brewing, growing, struggling for most of it, to be honest. But the time has arrived, the time is right for them to be championed and for them to be magnified and made visible to the world. And the first step to that is obviously creating a platform. I think Fashion Forward was created at the right time. Had it been created 10 years ago, I think it would have probably failed. But I guess the word collective as well is very strong in mind. It doesn't take one, not two, but the whole community to really push it forward. So.
And Nadine, you've been here for quite a while in terms of having presence in the industry. You've been around for almost a decade, for 8 years. And in my mind, whenever I think of someone really established, I think Nadine comes up. What was the industry like back then? I'm sure there was a huge lack of resources, a huge lack of interest from media, from buyers. How did you get to where you are today despite the lack of those resources?
I wouldn't say obstacles. I mean, I started 8 years ago almost, and it was a very nice experience and a journey. I have to say the media was very supportive even then, because when you have a good product and you have a good identity of that product, people would like it and would show it. Of course, it's not like today. Today you can tell that with the social media, a lot of things have changed the last 3-4 years. So my journey, the first 4 years was actually slow in terms of establishing myself, getting to places, having buyers be interested in what I do.
What was the process like back then? How would you gain interest from a buyer? Would you have to actually make a phone call? Did you have to have a personal relationship with them? You never make phone calls.
This is something I love to do. I'm passionate about what I do, whether it's photography or jewelry. And I believe if it's something grown organically, it will get somewhere. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. I have that kind of philosophy. Of course, now when you see a lot of designers getting places, you would start wondering and you say, maybe I should start using a PR agency. Maybe I should be stronger on my social media. And of course, which is great because you learn, again, something new and you start pushing for something new. And this is what eventually, you learn from the newcomers, which is great. I mean, this is probably what I'll be doing next.
So it's a case of the newcomers are actually teaching the older ones something as well. It's amazing that they're giving back.
You always learn. I mean, I love what I do. That's the main thing. But of course, when you see talent such as the girls here, I mean, it's amazing. You learn from them.
Razan, I feel like you're the living example of the fact that Dubai need not be the only fashion capital in the Middle East. You are famously based in Saudi Arabia. I know you only ever come here like once or twice a year, obviously for things like this, but to produce your lookbooks, I know you do come here for the photography of the collection. But other than that, you're pretty much based in Saudi Arabia. I want to know, how do you manage to do that despite the fact that Dubai is widely considered to be the fashion
We
capital?
face obstacles. Saudi is it's a different world. I think it's very unique in the Middle East because it's very young, and I don't want to say there's no rules, but the rules are being invented I say invented because really they are being invented every other day. When I first started, it was the most difficult thing we faced was getting the proper paperwork to be able to produce clothing in Saudi Arabia, to be able to export clothing and import fabric as something other than a fabric shop. You had to be, this was 8 years ago as well, we were labeled as a factory, even though we were only 6 employees. So we had to even find a place to rent in an industrial area. And I don't know if anyone has been to Saudi. Industrial areas are...
Hands up, who's been to Saudi?
Industrial areas are basically like containers, a bunch of containers from the Mina, and they just put them around in a yard, and we were next to PepsiCo, so it's not exactly where you would think a fashion house should start. But you learn from these things, so they help you grow.
You don't feel any pressure whatsoever that you have to be part of Dubai or you have to eventually relocate to Dubai?
I don't think fashion has a location anymore. I think it's very global. It doesn't necessarily, I don't believe I belong to Saudi, obviously, but I don't think my brand solely belongs to Saudi. It's, even as a brand, it's diverse. Like our accessories appeal to a certain demographic, our clothes appeal to a certain demographic, and even different pieces from our line appeal to different cultures. So it's we never tried to be a part of one place. So that's why we never thought of ourselves, and I say we because we're 3 partners, but we never thought of ourselves as, just a Saudi brand.